Would like to call to order the December 15th, 2014 meeting of the Cabarrus County Commissioners. Would like to remind everyone, if you would please silence your cell phones or other noise-making devices that you have. And at this time, we will have the presentation of colors by the Air Force Junior ROTC from Mount Pleasant High School.
Color arm. Oh. Left. Face. Read. Then arm. Order. Arm. Pose. Right, eight, forward, arch.
Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to call on Dr. Terry Falconberry, Senior Pastor of West Cabarrus Church, for our invocation.
May we pray together. Our Father, thank you for this wonderful holiday season. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. No better words than to recall the first nativity, the giving of the greatest Christmas gift ever. We thank you for the significance of the gift. We thank you for the giver. May we receive that gift. May we know in our hearts how much it meant to give your Son. We thank you for salvation that's offered in him. We pray for your guidance tonight and your wisdom in all of our lives. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Falconberry. At this time, I'd like for our ROTC folks to come forward, and if you would please introduce yourselves to us. And then if you go off to my right, Commissioner Poole will have a pen for you.
Right here? Okay. I'm Emily Shepard. I'm a senior at Mount Pleasant High School. Is that
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Hunter Moore, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel, and I'm also a senior at Mount Pleasant High School.
Thank you.
I'm Matthew Cavanis. I'm a cadet captain at Mount Pleasant High School. I'm a junior.
How you doing, sir? I'm Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Joseph Mize, also a senior at Mount Pleasant High School, and I'm currently enlisted in the North Carolina Army National Guard.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate y'all being with us tonight. Commissioners, you all have a copy of the minutes of our last meeting in front of you. At this time, I would entertain a motion to either accept or correct those minutes. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item will be the approval of our agenda, which you also have in front of you. So I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
I move for approval of the agenda. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have some recognitions and presentations tonight. First is a proclamation proclaiming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which I will read to you now. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, and devoted his life to fighting poverty, injustice, and racism in America. And whereas Dr. King, through his practice of nonviolent protest, promoted the importance of love, peace, and freedom for humankind and challenged America to honor its promise of liberty and justice for all citizens. And whereas during his lifetime, Dr. King sought to forge the common ground on which individuals of all ages, races, and backgrounds could join together to address important community issues and provide service to their community. And whereas the third Monday in January has been established as a national holiday to observe the anniversary of Dr. King's birth, now therefore the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims Monday, January 19th, 2015 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Cabarrus County, and encourages all citizens to join in the special programs and ceremonies to be held on January 16 through 18, honoring the life and work of Dr. King and his legacy of peace and equality for all citizens. I would entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
I would make that motion to approve the proclamation.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call on Alan Thompson, our EMS Director, for a presentation.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's an honor to have the opportunity to stand before you tonight as we recognize two very special Cabarrus County paramedics. Tonight we'll recognize Lieutenant Cannon and Sergeant Malden, who recently achieved victory at the Carolinas Paramedic Competition. But in Cabarrus County, we have had a long string of success in paramedic competition, amassing the North Carolina State Paramedic Championship in 2011, 7 regional championships, 7 runner-up finishes in regional championships, as well as some other national competitions. And then now I would invite Lieutenant Cannon and Sergeant Malden to come forward. Cabarrus County won the Carolinas competition in 2011, finished 3rd in 2012, and tonight we acknowledge them for their victory in October of 2014. They competed against multiple other teams from several states in South Carolina. It was a 2-day competition, and these two, after very grueling written tests and very grueling practical scenarios, emerged victorious in all categories, and they brought home the trophy for Cabarrus County again in 2014. So what I would say tonight is thank you, Lieutenant Cannon, and thank you, Sergeant Malden, for your performance. And what they do tonight, or what they do in these competitions, is a demonstration of what they take to the field every day in Cabarrus County. Their level of performance in a competition scenario is no different than what every paramedic in Cabarrus County takes to the citizens each day. So these trainings, these competitions, prepare our medics to better serve the citizens each day. So thank you for your support, thank you for your commitment, thank you for your professionalism, and thank you for bringing home the trophy to Cabarrus County.
Thank you not only for the trophy you brought home, but for what you do for us every day. We appreciate your service. Now I'd like to call on Dennis Testerman from Soil and Water Conservation for some presentations.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. We are here tonight to recognize representatives from various schools in Cabarrus County at our recent essay and public speaking contest. We thank you as commissioners for being supportive of this. We list you as a sponsor of this event. This is part of two of the educational contests sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. This is the 47th annual public speaking contest that we just had last Tuesday, and our 24th annual essay contest. I just wanted to say a few words about this year's contest, and then I will turn it over to Hannah Hersey, my colleague, who's back here somewhere, and she will help recognize the winners. And we have also, as you can see, teachers and parents and some administrators as well. So this year's theme is a rotating theme every so many years, so we're back to the Wetlands Are Wonderful theme this year. I wish you'd had an opportunity to hear the speeches and read the essays, and we can arrange some of that if you're interested. But they do have something to say to all the decision makers in Cabarrus County in terms of the importance of wetlands for us here. Just to name off several, flood storage would be one big one. Wetlands give us a lot of value in protected property or property damage that's prevented by controlling floodwaters because they act like a sponge. They act as filters to help filter out pollutants, and as we grow, we seem to have more of those that need to be filtered out. And finally, just in terms of general quality of life, they provide open space for us, great bird habitats. Birding is one of the top hobbies in the United States, and we've got no shortage of birders in Cabarrus County as well. Several of our strategic priorities for our conservation district are focused on wetlands, both in the area of protection and also in the area of education. We worked just a little over a year ago, completed a wetland restoration project on the campus of Cox Mill Elementary School, and had nearly $1 million budget there to restore wetlands that had been impacted some while that area was a farm, and then there was some additional impacts during the construction of the school. And so the state felt it wise to use their dollars to help bring that area back to where it is much, much, much more functional. And we think that that project is one that is worthy of a National Association of County Commissioners Award, and plan on applying for that somewhere down the line, and we will keep you posted on that. So with that, I will turn it over to Hannah Hersey.
Thank you, Dennis. So since we're talking about Wetlands Are Wonderful this year, I wanted to talk about one of our latest projects, the Conservation Field School at Clark Creek. It is a 30-acre property that we own that spans a 200-acre regional important wetland that is a state-designated significant natural heritage area. It's adjacent to the wetlands are woodlands that are the result of old field succession for 4 decades. We have a wildlife cam that has captured numerous waterfowl species, coyote, deer, squirrels, and we also have documentation of American beaver, which is a wetland engineer. So the field school also offers a research platform that extends into the water, and where waterfowl can be observed and water quality can be monitored. That being said, the field school is a great location for outdoor learning and experiences out there. So one of our goals for the upcoming year is to construct a field guide documenting different plant and animal species, and that is going to be done with the help of students, interns, and local organizations. So with that being said, since we did hold our 24th annual essay contest and 47th public speaking contest, we had over 789 participants with 6 different middle schools involved. So I would like to recognize the winners of this year's contest, starting with the 6th grade essay contest. First place, Justice Hatcher from J. N. Freeze Magnet School. Second place, Justice Ivy from C.C. Griffin Middle School. Third place, Nevaeh Green, Concord Middle School. And then honorable mention was Marissa Stevens from Carolina International. For public speaking, starting with 7th grade, first place winner, Tyler Pickett from Mount Pleasant Middle School. Second place, Bryce Beely, J.N. Freeze Magnet School. Third place, John Mark Polk from C.C. Griffin Middle School. For our 8th grade public speaking, first place was Priya Patel, J.N. Freeze Magnet School. Second place, Edward Enriquez, Northwest Cabarrus Middle. Third place, Delaney Smith, C.C. Griffin Middle School. And honorable mention was Jonathan Milton, Concord Middle. I would also like to recognize the administrative staff that is present tonight. We have Angie Wood from J.N. Freeze Magnet School, Sarah Grafton from Carolina International, Caitlin Searcy and Tim Furr from Mount Pleasant Middle School. And so without the support from our teachers, parents, this could not happen. This contest couldn't happen without the encouragement and support from these guys. And I would like to congratulate all of you and good luck for the advancing participants at the regional competition in Davie County in March, and also the state competition, which is held in May in Raleigh. So congratulations, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all the winners. Next on our agenda are informal public comments. We'll mention that each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and we have a timer here. We try to treat everyone the same way to make sure that everybody gets an equal opportunity to speak. We have quite a few cards here tonight with the subject matter of sewage sludge. Just wanted to make a couple comments on that initially. We have done pretty extensive research on what authority the county might have in that regard. I think staff has talked with folks at Diener and Raleigh. We've talked with folks at the Institute of Government, and the information that we have received back is that we are allowed to call for a public hearing on the matter, and that's the only thing that has been available to us. So we have taken that action, and we have asked for that public hearing. I think the response that we've gotten back is that they will be in touch when they decide the time is appropriate for that. So with that being said, our first card is from Myra Dotson. And if you would come up and state your name and address, we'd be delighted to hear your comments.
We have handouts for the commissioners to follow along.
Please feel free to adjust the microphone if you need to also.
My name is Myra Dotson. My address is 8418 Orange Grove Road, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I am chair and founder of a group called Sewage Sludge Action Network, and we have done some research on Centigro that I thought you all should be made aware of. I'm sure you all probably are aware excuse me, of the corruption scandals that Centigro has been involved with. But this is sort of a local scandal that we have discovered, and I'm here to present the information about it. And it will affect this county. First of all, if you'll open up the packet, you'll see a sheet that just has a parcel. That would be an outline of a parcel that is going to be sludged, a field that's going to be sludged. The second page, this came from a PowerPoint presentation about GIS work. The second page is an application area where the buffers have been removed, the location of the house, any other kinds of buffers for fields, streams, ponds, etc. The third sheet is the property from this previous page. It's a Google Earth. And the next one is part of the field, the NCOR-61-01. The calculated net acres on this is 16.8 acres. But it was reported in the permit that this was 20.5. So the edge of the payment, the next sheet, is the edge of pavement to the edge of the woods. It's 19.95 acres. So this shows that the permit was miscalculated. And it looks like of the applications that were examined in this study, that the majority were overestimated. So this sheet is potential for overestimation. There are 30 mapped pieces of land. The sample was 30. The difference, there was 1 that was underestimated. There was 4 that was estimated between 0 and 10% more, and there were 25 that were estimated 10% over. So this sheet here is also the potential for over-application. This is 18 of the 25 fields, and 18 fields had the potential for over-application to the tune of 278.52 dry tons. That calculates out to 1,475,020 gallons of sewage sludge. So this was only in a handful of applications. So if you take all the applications that were done in Orange County, which is 100, you can multiply that by 100, and that's a lot of over-application. This is a violation of the Federal Clean Water Act. And not only that, you can see in this one, the permit application.
If you can kind of wrap it up in a
Okay.
sentence, we've gone over time.
Okay, well, this one track shows that the permit was made in incorrect names. The different names of the people, of the owners, Synagro made the application in the incorrect names of the people. This is a violation of North Carolina State Statute 143-215.6b. This is just one of several corrupt examples of corruption when it comes to Synagro.
Right.
So I want the commissioners here to know who is going to be working in the county.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming. Our next speaker is Rodney Kendall. Kinley?
Yes, sir. My name is Rodney Kinley. I live at 2131 St. Stephen's Church Road in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. My purpose in addressing this commission tonight is to express my concerns over the dumping of biosolids produced by Charlotte Mecklenburg on farmland in Cabarrus County to be used as fertilizer. The EPA uses the term biosolids as an attempt to overshadow the fact that this material is actually human waste. Our end of the county has been experiencing some major construction due to the widening of Highway 49 and the installation of the water line from Albemarle to Concord. While this has caused us some inconvenience due to delays in traffic flow, the benefits outweigh the delays. The Highway 49 widening project will help bring growth to the county, and the water line will bring much needed water to Concord in the event of another severe drought. I would like to point out that there are no benefits in allowing the human waste to be dumped on our farmlands, which would lead to the contamination of ground and surface water. Out in the county, we depend on wells to supply our water for drinking, for washing our clothes, for watering our gardens and our livestock. The citizens of the city of Concord expect their water to be safe and free of contamination. Should we expect less simply because we choose to live in the county? The EPA's website states with certainty that all contaminants cannot be removed from biosolid waste. The danger here lies in the fact that there is no accountability for the possibility of contamination. The facts are there is no monitoring of the surface or the groundwater in and around those dump sites. We are leaving it up to the farmer to ensure that he is following EPA guidelines and procedures, a job he is not qualified to do and a responsibility that is not his to assume. It's like leaving the fox in charge of the hen house. To number two, there are no benefits to the taxpayers of Cabarrus County by having their land devalued because they are in the unfortunate position of living beside of or close to a human waste dump site. Number three, there is no benefit to the taxpayers of Cabarrus County to have their air quality polluted by the smell of decaying human waste for weeks at a time. The EPA guidelines state that humans and livestock cannot be allowed on the land for 30 days after application. Why do you think that is? What are they not telling us? There is a problem here that the EPA has completely overlooked or chooses to address, not to address. Livestock can be fenced and prevented from entering the contaminated area, but what about native wildlife? The deer population of Cabarrus County will be exposed to this human waste along with smaller wildlife such as rabbits, squirrels, and doves, all of which are hunted for food by residents of Cabarrus County. What kinds of bacteria, PCBs, and other pollutants are these animals going to ingest and pass on to the human population? The answer is we don't know. I have grandchildren who come to visit and like to play in Little Buffalo Creek behind my home. If the EPA can guarantee me there is absolutely no danger of contamination from biosolids, I would gladly allow my grandchildren to continue to play in the creek. The EPA cannot guarantee this, and neither can the North Carolina Division of Water Quality. I conclude my presentation with two important facts. Number one, Mr. Phil Klein paid Cabarrus County $4,397 in fiscal year 2014. Of the 75 people who have signed our petition tonight, they have paid Cabarrus County over $81,000 in property taxes. And we believe this should give us a stronger voice in presenting our concerns on this matter. And lastly, if biosolids are so safe and good for the property owners of this county, then why did Mr. Klein feel the need to apply for his permits in Davie County to dump human waste on farmland in Cabarrus County? We believe the answer is obvious. You as a board must ask yourself this question. If we live here in Cabarrus County, if we in Cabarrus County burn our sludge to produce electricity, then why in the world would we allow Charlotte Mecklenburg to dump the sludge on our farmlands? It makes no sense. We are asking this board to fulfill its campaign promise to serve all the citizens of Cabarrus County by stopping this insane practice that grows like a cancer and it eats away at the quality of life for all of our citizens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll try to remind the rest of our speakers that we need to adhere to our 3-minute limit, and if that buzzer goes off, if you can complete the sentence you're working on, it's awfully hard to interrupt somebody when they're talking about something that's important to them. Our next speaker will be Dr. Lance Riley.
Commissioners, good day. Mike, thank you for sending in that request for Diener for the public hearing. Liz, how come you didn't do anything about this in July when you got the certified mail from CMUD with the proposed permit application? Don't know. How many commissioners knew that they're already spreading CMUD sludge in Cabarrus County? Got a map right here. Yep, what is this? Cabarrus County. They already have a permit. They're choosing to expand their permit even more into Cabarrus County, including Midland, the corner up near Gold Hill, Mount Pleasant area, to expand hundreds and hundreds of acres. To do what? To get rid of their crap? To call it crap, to call it human feces is not doing due diligence. It's everything that goes down the drain. Every hospital, every funeral home, every industry, every Duke Power, you name it. It goes down the drain. It's not just wastewater treatment. It's not just the back end of it. It's the front end. So all that polluted water from the coal ash that they clean up coming in from Charlotte, coming from Mountain Island Lake for drinking water, guess what? That ends up as sludge too. So we're not even dealing with just the remainder of the wastewater treatment plant. As you know, Charlotte Mecklenburg has a big problem with PCBs and illegal dumping. We don't want this material anywhere near us. PCBs are the #1 cause of cancer. One of the worst things, different dioxins, things they don't even test for. Stuff is full of it. I've been a researcher for 20 years. Got a PhD in aquatic sciences. I've been biofuels, wastewater into biofuels, and this stuff is bad. And I'm warning you right now that if you let this come into your county, you are begging for an environmental disaster. Representative Larry Pittman has proposed to me that there are alternatives. You have a poo-to-power plant. Why can't you enact legislation to say if you're going to bring in sewage sludge from outside the county, why not pay us to make electricity out of it here in Cabarrus County? You guys are, it's a win-win-win. It's greener for everybody. You get electricity, you get paid. Charlotte-Mecklenburg doesn't dump their waste in Cabarrus County. Everybody stand up here from Cabarrus County that's against this. It's going to be affected by the sewage sludge. And we've got more. We've got numbers. And we're not going to have it. We're absolutely not going to have it. If you will not drive the policy, we will go and drive the policy at the state level. But the commissioners have the power to do it. You have the power, but are you willing? That's my challenge to you. You've been willing to ignore it so far. What are you going to do now?
Thank you. Our next speaker is Roy Riley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain Roy Riley. I've spent 30 years in the Navy, retired in Cabarrus County. Kind of like it, and except for the fact that one of the farmers down the road seems to think he's going to ruin my lifestyle by dumping the sludge. I've got a map here, and I'm going to give you this map. And he wants to dump sludge in my backyard. Now, there's creeks, and there's streams, and there's springs that come off this land, and it ties into the river. And actually, if you look at all the places he wants to put it, it actually flows into the Yadkin River. So, not today, not tomorrow, but sometime down the road, you're going to have a problem down there. The other thing I'd like to bring to your attention, and I'll leave this map with you. He lives, his name is Phil Klein, he lives in this part. And his wife, Ann, has some land. She lives in a cabin by herself. His brother owns adjacent land on Klein Road. He lives in a cabin behind. He's got an aunt that lives across on Klutz Road. Guess where they're not putting any sludge? There. They're putting on all the neighbors. Now, there's an American Indian that owns 7 acres on the land, and he's very upset. He's tried to sell his land to Phil Klein. He will give him nothing for it. So, sludge, we don't want it. It's contaminated with PCBs, medical waste, pharmaceutical waste, mortuary waste. We don't want it in our backyard. And there's enough creeks and streams that people get their water supply from that it'll be a matter of time. Not in my time, but in somebody's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Betty Edwards.
Good evening. I'm Betty Edwards. I live at 1521 Daybreak Ridge Road, Kannapolis, North Carolina. And yes, I'm here to talk about the sludge issue, but I'm going to tell it in a different way. We have qualified people that have already spoken and more people that will speak about the chemicals. I'm not qualified to talk about this, but I am qualified to talk about the people. I am qualified to be concerned for my children and my grandchild. But here's what I want to say, and I'm going to use Commissioner Honeycutt as the name, but please insert your name, and when I say her friend's name, insert a good friend's name. and think about what I'm going to say. Diane Honeycutt is invited by her good friend Anita to have dinner with her. Diane shows up at the house. She spent all day fixing. She's got a nice pot roast in the slow cooker. She's got a beautiful salad made with fresh vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, green pepper, and lettuce. She's got corn on the cob, little white potatoes that she boiled and fixed for the dinner. And the pot roast is cooking. What Diane doesn't realize is that Anita didn't know that those vegetables were grown on sludge land. Now, you say they tell them, do not grow vegetables after they put the sludge on the land. But here's what I know. Farmers have to feed their families, and farmers are going to make a living. And farmers will plant vegetables. And there's nothing that says that they won't be sold. In 1988, they stopped sludge from being put in the ocean because they said that they couldn't do it. The environment couldn't hold it. We burn ours here in Cabarrus County, and Mecklenburg County says, oh, we're worried about the pollution in the air for doing that. But I'm worried about the pollution of our farmlands and what it's going to do to our food. It very clearly says here that, here's what you need to know. It says that, wait a minute, let me find it. It says, by certified organic products. To be certified as an organic grower, farmers are not permitted to use sewer sludge in their fields because of the number of toxic chemicals and heavy metals it contains. There's also a list of companies that say, like Dole, they will not accept products that are grown there. I only ask that you think about this scenario, how it would affect you, how it would affect your body, and know that the citizens of Cabarrus County are against Charlotte-Mecklenburg Utilities putting sludge on our farmlands. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ronnie Long.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ronnie Long. I live at 75 Hillcrest Avenue here in Concord. And I would like to speak to you about the sewer sludge issue. As many have pointed out already, there are a lot of good reasons not to do this. There are hundreds of pages of documentation on the dangers and the detrimental aspects of it. One thing that we haven't talked about is the long-term effect. We live in a wonderful community here. Cabarrus County is a gem in this state. But what is being proposed to be done to our county is a disgrace. With the long-term effects that has been proven by much more qualified scientific evidence than what I'm capable of presenting, the environmental impact, the impact to our air quality, our water quality, the land, at some point in time will become unusable. And the last thing in the world that we want for Cabarrus County is to turn it into a waste dump that is not humanly compatible. And that's what we're talking about with this stuff here tonight, is a product that does not have to be used. It is a chosen product, and the reason that the farmers are choosing it is because it is being made available to them for free. Well, as we all know, if it's free, there's usually some strings attached to it, or there's something that somebody's not telling us. And so it's not always the best thing to do to look a gift horse in the mouth, but that's what we're doing with this, is we're saying, oh, it's free, so, we need to do it from an economical standpoint. The farmers need it. Well, in the long run, how bad is it going to hurt Cabarrus County's future population? Is it going to turn our land into an unusable waste dump that will absolutely cause the people in this county to have to leave the county, no longer be able to live in the county because of the waste products that are embedded in our ground, in our soils, in our water. Something you need to be thinking about. This is not just about a free product to a few farmers. This is about the long-term effect on the entire Cabarrus County and a multi-county region because of the runoff into our streams and tributaries. So please, we understand that from a local standpoint, there are limited things that you all can do. There are things you can do. And one of those is to also encourage our state legislators to get involved in this. You all can put together a resolution and send that to the state, which can carry a lot of weight too. So I encourage you to please take every possible action that you can to prevent this from happening and from hurting the long-term effects and the long-term livelihood of Cabarrus County. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Olinda Walker.
I am bringing you the proposed, it's called the permit WQ000075, and this is where it is being dumped in our area of Midland. I have it in green, and it is in between Hellendale Road, Bethel Church Road, Wellingbrook, and Blow Store Road. That's where it's going right now. But that's not where it's going to last. Let's put it down. I can show it to you. Turn around and show it to these people while I'm talking. I am Olinda Walker, and I live at 10,000 Mount Pleasant Road in Midland. And I'm concerned for the same reason all these other people have spoken. I'm asking you, why are the permits necessary if it's not bad? Also, farmers that don't require any kind of permission to spread turkey, chicken, or horse manure on their farms. Responsible waste management is not harmful to life that's living on or near the land that has been fertilized by biosolids. It's what I'm asking this board to consider for the people who are living within the fertilized areas in Cabarrus County. Responsible disposal of waste products must include the total destruction of PBCs and viral diseases, especially those carried by blood, and proper testing of all known pathogens that might remain alive in any waste product that goes through the system in the treatment process and then headed to farms must be completely destroyed before they are determined to be safe. And this is not what's happening with CMUD. CMUD, by the way, is Charlotte-Mecklenburg Utility Development Program, okay? I am asking you to consider some of the statements that have been made tonight, because you can do something to help us stop this insane fertilizer that's called free. I ask you also that this safe sludge is not allowed by the EPA around any waterways, aquatic life of streams, ponds, rivers, and oceans, because they harm or can harm the living creatures within them. Then, if that's so, why is it so good for human beings to be around it? That's a question you need to answer. We must continue to insist on responsible management of each and every waste facility who asks our farmers to take their free fertilizer. I understand the need for farmers to want this fertilizer, but there has to be some responsibility for the neighbors surrounding them. I have listened to all the pros and cons of the sludge and biosolid disposal, and I found the health risks far outweigh the benefits of nitrogen production. I have spoken to one man in Midland who has been a driver delivering biosolid material, and in his words, he said, "It is bad." I have listened to several who told me the health issues that began in their families after sludge was applied in their local areas. The risks are just plain too high. See mud has to be held back, stopped, or stopped completely. Please tell our state authorities and the commissioners of Mecklenburg County that Cabarrus County is saying no to sea mud. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andrew Culp.
How y'all folks doing tonight? My name's Andrew Culp. I live on 13,000 Culp Road, Gold Hill, North Carolina. And I went to school with Mike's son here at Mount Pleasant, and I'm a diesel mechanic, but I love farming on the side, and I would love to do something in that for a business. I've always loved dairy cows, and I'd like to have a dairy farm and milk and bottle it on the same farm. And with my neighbor spreading this stuff on his property, I'm afraid I just don't like it. You know, what's it going to do to my cows? You know, it's you know, I went to Charlotte and talked to the mayor and some other people, and there's a farm in Indiana. It's called Fair Oaks Farm. They produce power off all their manure and all this stuff. And I spoke to the lady from Charlotte Utilities, and I told her, I said, why don't y'all consider doing something like that? Well, power here in North Carolina doesn't cost that much. So we're not focusing on trying to do that. And I said, if power don't cost that much, well, I'll let you pay my power bill. You know, I just don't understand that. With today's technologies and stuff, there's so much more that we can do, so much more other than just dump it. There's a better option. And, you know, I just don't, you know, I'm a diesel mechanic. I work on combines and tractors and all kinds of stuff, and I see farmers all the time. And I would say, you know, you speak to 5 farmers, all 5 of them's heard of it. You know how many of them want it? Maybe 1 out of the 5. And so I just don't believe CMUD when they say farmers are begging for it. They're not begging for it. You know, they just don't know. They don't know what's in it. They're just taking it. And that's what gives agriculture a bad name. Agriculture's already got a bad name. You know, my whole life in school, you know, they're fighting to keep agriculture programs in schools. This is another negative towards agriculture. And, you know, one of these days they're just going to say, well, it's too much. Let's just boot it out. You know, I love Cabarrus County. You know, we live in this unique little spot down there. Sometimes y'all don't claim us, so we have to go to Rowan. Sometimes they don't either, so we go to Stanley. So, you know, I see, you know, if they don't want to produce power off of it, we do. Why don't we take some of the money we're paying the sheriff deputies to sit at Circle K and eat donuts, take some of their salary and up our money and take theirs, sludge, and produce even more power off of it. Piss Duke power off. But I'm telling you, I've seen this stuff on the field, and there is anything you can flush in a commode that's not filtered out of it ends up on the dirt. And I'm talking feminine products, needles, anything. And I've seen it. And you want that in your backyard, front yard? I doubt it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Philip Benham.
And Mr. Chairman and members of the board, it's good to see you. I'm not here about sludge, or maybe it's a sludge of a different kind, I'm not sure. The last time I was here was in the spring. It was the first time I'd ever been here. I live on 761 Harris Street, and I've been here for 12 years. I really love this place. And I came for one commission meeting, got to address you, and I saw this young lady and that young lady in the back, and I was very interested in what they had to say, and I'd like to just give you some words. Righteousness exalts a nation, But sin is a disgrace to any people. To any people. It tells us in the scripture, God's word, in Hosea chapter 4:6, that my people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. And it's not the knowledge about computers and games and things like that. It's the lack of knowledge about him and the fear of him. And this board's composition is entirely different than it was before, and I imagine you're probably happy with that, but there are some of us that are deeply concerned because we're concerned about our kids. We're concerned about our schools, and we're concerned that godlessness never produces righteousness. It can't. And godless people have not even the opportunity to receive from God the wisdom that he has to help us to deal with the issues of today. And I fear, and I am pretty sure, that you're going to plunge us into debt, deep debt that we don't need. And that's in part and parcel God's judgment upon our city and really upon our nation, because God is draining our wealth. It tells us in the scripture in Psalm 33:12, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. America has been greatly blessed because God is our Lord, the God of the Bible. The 66 books in this Bible. And yet today we flaunt it. And we lie to one another. And we lie, and then somehow we get ourselves in positions of power because we can and because we have the money and simply because we can. Doesn't matter what we have to violate, it's the cause, it's getting up here. And I can remember those Christians that would come here and they spoke right here and they were nervous, and I can remember you two sitting back there and snickering at them, and it broke my heart. I mean, they aren't well spoken like you. They don't have the things that you do, but they came to represent the God of this Bible, the God that dug them out of a pit. And right now, we have unrighteousness on this board. Unrighteousness means you're not in the right relationship with God. And so without him, you don't have the avenue that made America great. And America is great because she has been blessed by Almighty God. Right makes right. And Ben Franklin even told us that for a man without character, nothing else matters. I'm asking you to call upon the name of the Lord, to come and to help you and grant you wisdom to do that which is right and think of others more than yourselves. I pray it in Jesus' name, unashamed, gospel of Christ. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gloria Winsenreed.
Thank you. My name is Gloria Winsenreed. I'm from Concord. I'm here to talk about the libraries. I want to welcome all of you to the Board of Commissioners. I think this is a wonderful move on Cabarrus County's part. And I want to ask, because in 2008, when the economy went bad, everything got cut, but the libraries got hit really hard. We did get it to come back, thanks to Mike Downs and Pam and the rest, Liz and Jay White and Bob Cruth. Got some hours back, and we got some new employees. Then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, 4 employees were let go from the library. Although it was said that 4 employees would not hurt the library, I can tell you that 4 employees has really made a tremendous difference. There are boxes of books sitting waiting to be processed throughout the 4 libraries, not just Concord. It's all the libraries. Although Concord does the processing, they're for the other libraries too. So I want to ask you to put the libraries kind of at the top of the list since they were always at the top of the list when the cuts came by. I am so proud to know all of you. And maybe I had just that much of a help in getting you elected, and I'd like for you to always consider the libraries. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is all of the cards for public comments that we have tonight. Next, we have no old business tonight, so next will be our consent agenda. Of course, you see before you a listing of all those items, each of which we discussed at our work session 2 weeks ago. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as it's presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is new business, and the first item on our list is infrastructure and asset management, property exchange related to Wallace Park, and I think Jonathan Marshall is going to talk with us about that.
Good evening. This item is related to the property it's being purchased for the Wallace Park in the southern part of the county. There's a memo in your agenda that outlines the specific terms that are related to this item, but I'm going to go through some of the general information about that. The county is purchasing through an installment purchase agreement 190 acres from the Wallace family for the construction of the Wallace Park, and in fact we have deed to that. The payments do stretch over a number of years at what is essentially a no-interest rate. There is a portion of that property located at Wallace Road and US 601 that's zoned industrial that is south of the railroad tracks and isolated from the remainder of that property. That particular parcel was not planned to be part of the park or has not been shown in the overall master plan, and in fact has been presented to different companies and private individuals for a possibility of sale for economic development, and that is probably its best purpose. The access road to the park crosses through that property and then across the railroad tracks to access the main body of the park. What's proposed here is that a parcel that's on Bethel School Road that's zoned industrial and adjacent to residential development be exchanged for that property. They are not of equal value, but we've gone through a private appraisal or a third-party appraisal of the 36 acres the county currently owns to determine the value of that, and then have also gone through the sale price as well as other work done on the parcel on Bethel School Road that would be traded to compare those two. Again, the property that is being exchanged for the 36 acres is still of lesser value, so there would need to be an adjustment to the installment purchase agreement. That would be approximately 3 payments on that installment purchase agreement that would need to be adjusted and would not be paid by the county. So again, the memo goes through these in more detail, how we've determined these values, what's included in the values, and what would go through with the exchange. The requested action for you tonight is a motion to approve that exchange of property based on these terms and to allow the county manager and county attorney to complete the exchange under the terms outlined in the memorandum. Our attorney has pointed out to me that because it is an exchange of property, it does fall under the statutes for property purchase and exchange. You will need to pass a resolution at your next meeting if you choose to do this. That will give us a chance for this also to be advertised and for anyone who should have comments to make comment on it. If you have any questions or want more specifics about any of those values, or you couldn't hear me at some point, I'd be glad to go through those again. And Mr. Cook may want to add something about the exchange itself.
Well, I think that pretty well summarizes it. There is a 10-day notice period that has to be met with publication of the proposed exchange before you can do your final vote on it.
We do not need a public hearing, just an opportunity, just to notice the public.
No public hearing, just the notice.
We've been working on this area and this property for a while. There's a troubling entrance that we have now. And I believe this will take care of that and would make it much safer access, and it would make the property and the park, once it gets developed, to be a much better piece of property, and like I said, with safe access. So I would be in favor, Mr. Chairman, of us moving forward and putting this on the, I guess for today, we just need to put it on the January agenda. Is that what you're asking us to do?
And if you could include a motion that would allow Mr. Downs and Mr. Cook to begin negotiating the final terms based on these specifics.
So I'm in favor of it, and I'm happy to make a motion that we proceed in January. And he said, as he said, authorize the county manager and the attorney to continue the negotiations to have that available to us in January.
Thank you. Do I hear a second to Commissioner Poole's motion? We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion or questions?
Mr. Chairman, let me ask just one question. On the, I think, Jonathan, when we discussed this, the amount, the difference between one unit versus the other unit was approximately 3 payments that we're making to the landowner now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I'm thinking that he wanted us to take those from the last 3 years of the contract. Is that correct?
And that's what's been proposed. That's certainly something we could discuss.
Well, and that's the part that I wanted to talk about. What I would like to see us do, I'm with the board on doing it because this is going to solve a problem in that area, and it's going to give the county an opportunity to acquire land that otherwise might be sold out from under us at some point, and it would leave us with what we've got there now, with the railroad crossing being an obstacle and a hazard as well, for people going to that part of the park to this part of the park. So we can make that exchange. That's great that we can do that. But what I would like to see us to discuss with the landowner, and Mr. Cook, whenever y'all do this discussions, is maybe scatter that 3 payments out over the course of the remaining years of the contract, because that was a quite extensive contract, I understand.
That's right.
And if we could break that down maybe over a period of like every 6 years, or, that kind of thing, to where that we won't have to wait for the whole amount difference in the land values at the end of the contract. I hope you have I conveyed that pretty clearly?
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm
I've got
saying?
that.
To scatter it out a little bit. I'm not the absolute best at words, as some folks might say that we're eloquent speakers. I've never been guilty of being an eloquent speaker, but I think you understand what I'm wanting us to try to
Yes,
do
sir.
if we can as part of the negotiations. But as far as, doing what we want to do, to direct the staff to move forward, that's what we should do.
So would it be acceptable to you to go ahead with the motion and come back to report? Okay, great. Any additional questions?
Yeah, when you talk to him, there may be some tax implications for him, so we would definitely want to take that in consideration. It's a zero interest loan. Yeah, we don't get those very often, so I understand what you're saying. I want to make sure that that he's. I was thinking we did 1 payment a year, so that could factor into it also. So, but that's why you get to negotiate.
Right. Right. Any additional discussion or questions? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the Sheriff's Department contract for subscriber as a service with Motorola Solutions for new radios. We talked about this at our work session, and Jody Johnson is here to talk with us tonight.
Yeah, I won't, I'll give you the abbreviated version since we've already discussed a lot of it. What this is a replacement cycle on all of our radios that have become outdated. We normally would take over a 6 or 3 year period, gradual purchasing of it, and we talked about the consistency of that, and we have different versions, different software versions, and that with different radios. What this subscriber of a service is doing is it allows us to take possession of the radios up front, stagger the payments out over the 6 years. We would still be spending the same amount of money over the 6 year period as if we were to buy all 525 radios today. I think maybe some of y'all had some questions, something more specific.
Anybody have questions?
I have a question. I think I had asked to have it on new business, and I think my questions from 2 weeks ago have already been answered, so
Okay.
I'm good on that, but I do have a slightly different one, and Mike, you might be the one to answer this. What's going to happen to the current radios? When they're replaced, what's going to happen to the current
There's a
radios?
credit for trade-in
Okay,
figured into that price.
okay, so they're going to take them back
Yes,
and do something with them?
they'll probably, yes,
Okay.
dispose of.
Okay. Could you please, when you talk to them, because this just came to me today in another conversation.
I've had the request that you're, yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead.
well, we have a fire academy at Concord High School, and EMT, and they do training, and we're not the only one in the state. There are quite a few of them in the state. So if this company, instead of the county, if Motorola Solutions is going to trash them and not be able to repurpose them, then maybe they would be willing to make a donation to fire academy programs.
I will certainly.
The state. And
Yeah, I will certainly.
Concord
present
High
that.
School gets to go number one on the list, since these are in Cabarrus County. But, I mean, it's just something that I know that they could use them. And, like I said, there are a number of academies, fire academies across the state. And I'm sure if there's no true value to them for secondhand market, then we'd be happy to work out a letter of receipt for a kind tax-deductible donation to a nonprofit. So
I will certainly present that and go through the proper channels here to
if
dispose of
it's
assets,
appropriate and
yeah.
available. So, thank you.
Any additional questions? We talked about this quite a bit
Yes,
at
sir.
our December 1st work session. It's quite a massive stack of paper,
Yes, it is.
the contract. But does anyone have any additional questions? If not, do I hear a motion to take action on this matter?
Second.
Okay, and I assume your motion is to approve this contract.
Yes.
Right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda, at our December 1st work session, we had asked the county manager some questions regarding our general fund budget, and I think he and Deputy Manager Pam Dubois have those answers for us, and so they'll make a brief presentation.
While Pam's getting set up, but we will be presenting, you had six or five areas that you had requested, and then there's just some general comments or requests about other programs or services that may have been impacted and that we would recommend. So Pam's going to go through and talk to you about the values of each of those, not only a fiscal or a financial value, but also a value of service in the programs. And we'll entertain any questions that you have.
Okay, at your direction at the work session on December the 1st, we went through and evaluated the items that were disclosed to us of significance. And the first one was the revaluation schedule, and we worked with Brent Wiesner. And the total request was for 4 staff members and a one of 3 data collectors and 1 clerical. And the total request with equipment for fiscal year 15 would be $98,190. The annualized cost of this is $187,142. The Economic Development Corporation, Mr. Downs had a contact with them and had a conversation of what their request would be, and it is $242,000. And next year will be determined when they come in and submit their budget. But this was to fund some fund balance that they're using to balance their budget and to fund 1/2 of a position that they wanted to restore. The third request was to work on our health and wellness initiative, and the first part was to restore the position, and that is $36,343, annualized at $66,900. And we've requested an additional $150,000 for the intermediate health clinic cost, and what that comprises of is we are working in the interim period to find facilities that we can utilize until we come up with a permanent solution. We have been working with other local governments within our area to come with some solutions of joining together with other municipalities and having joint wellness facilities. So we were trying to come up with a solution with that, but we could not pull that off very quickly. So this is our short-term solution. One of the big items asked for this evening was the Concord Library System, and you guys did ask for that information to be addressed. And we worked with our library director here, and our proposal is a little different. I think you asked for us to restore Saturday hours, and that would be the restoration of hours from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays. And a further request was asked to put the programming hours back in for 4 nights a week. Instead of closing at 7 p.m. to close at 8 p.m. because when people get off of work at 5, there's not enough time for them to come in and have a program in the evening before the doors have to shut down. Because if they got off at work at 5, got there at 6, the doors shut at 7, then there's no way to have any programming. And that's one of the things in their internal survey that they had this file that was being requested. So the proposal we have in here is to add, at a cost of $227,167, 7 full-time positions and 8 part-time positions, and that would stabilize the library branches, adding the extra hour Monday through Thursday, and restoring Saturday hours. And they would be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every branch on Saturday except for Mount Pleasant, and from what I understand, the Mount Pleasant solution is closing at 3 p.m., and that's what works for that community. Another portion of that $227,000 is we have several part-time employees, and during the last 6 months have been working them up to a 0.4 FTE, and we would like to restore all those positions from their 0.2 to 0.4 to a 0.4 FTE, and that was roughly around an annualized cost of $22,000, and it is inclusive of that $227,000. And when you annualize that, that's $439,337. Wallace Park would be to restore funding up to a request of $1 million, and we've had conversations with Londa, the Parks Director, on that. This will fund part of the Phase 1 project. It will not fund all of it, but it is a start to get us moving forward with that project, and it will meet some conditions related to the state part of grant, that there were about 7 or 8 things conditional that had to be done in order to receive that grant, and this $1 million would definitely cover that. We will have a little bit of changes with the swap of the property that you just did, so there'll be a little bit of design changes because the entrance is going to move, and when the entrance moves, that moves the bathrooms and it moves the administrative offices, so there's going to be a little bit of design change to go along with that. The construction and demolition landfill, that will have a 0 cost on the landfill budget. We are just taking 2 positions that are temporary positions, and because the facility is going to be open for 3 more years, making them full-time employees, and it has a 0 effect on that budget. That is pretty much the specific items that you asked for, and then Commissioner Honeycutt kind of opened the door and said if there was anything else we wanted to evaluate to bring that forward to you, and so Mike and I would like to add those items to the list for your discretion to have conversations on. Every 2 years, as part of our personnel ordinance, so we are to have a salary study. The salary study was performed, and the results of that study were there was 2 areas in which there was some alignments that were needed. One of those is in our asset and infrastructure management area, and that is one we were very competitive with the private industry because it's our electricians, our HVAC, our building and grounds maintenance individuals, and the salary study had come in with some solutions of some merit changes in order to get them to market value. The second portion of it that we had studied outside of the regular part of the plan was our administrative positions, and we took over the human services under our wings, and they're all part of the county government now. And we had administrative positions that were all over the board, all kinds of different titles, all kinds of different job descriptions, and a specific study was done and evaluated every one of those positions, found out what they actually did, and aligned everybody up so that a secretary who was working at Human Services is paid the same thing as a secretary who was working at the governmental center, and all that alignment took place. That is a cost of $45,045 for this fiscal year, and it annualizes to $90,090 on an annualized basis. Also, we would like to restore the funding for the deputy county manager's position, and that's inclusive of operational costs regarding the position, which encompasses a cell phone. Another conversation with Alonda, the Parks Director. There were 4 part-time rangers and 2 recreational facility operators that were cut during our season, July 1st, during the hours in which during the hours in which the most activity is going on in the summer. Alonda has not requested that to be restored until April 1st when the hours of the parks change and they're back open again. Because right now you close earlier and the need is not there right now, but would like to have it restored April 1st. The effects of that cost is $8,340, annualized at $15,300. The arena received several different cuts and reductions, and what we're proposing is to restore the funding for 1.5 positions that they had that were removed from their budget. One of those positions was their grounds facility person who does all the operations manager that helps set up all the events and stuff that come in. And the other one was a half-time position for marketing. Okay, thank you. So there are, they had like 7 full-time positions. I think I might be getting this right. And then when they got reduced to those 2 positions, the 5 staff members have been doing the work of those other 2 individuals and pulling a great deal of overtime. And they want to do a little bit of reorganization down there, so they might not necessarily bring back the equivalent. They're going to bring back the equivalent of those positions, but it might be a different reorganizational structure within the organization to make it appropriate to meet the needs and the dynamics that they've gone through over the last 6 months. And we spoke with Mr. Lapsley on that one, and that is a cost of $55,000 this year, annualized to $115,467 next fiscal year. And there were some operational costs that we did not choose to put in this year's budget, but did put it in for next year's budget, so that's why it doesn't double itself. We had conversations with infrastructure and asset management in regards to the custodian position that was requested, and inclusive of the operational expenditures that was approved in the manager's budget. So we're asking to restore that position. It's $18,280, and that's annualized at $35,143. Because of the school mediation, the commissioner's contingency balance today is 0. It has completely been wiped out, and for the next 6 months, we're not sure what could potentially happen. If there was any meetings like you wanted to have scheduled, take example, the one you want to have on the 29th, there would be no money available for that if you needed to move something out of contingency. Typically, your contingency can be up to $300,000 and $400,000 a year, and you're starting your tenure off with 0. So we would propose $100,000. If you don't spend it, it closes back into fund balance, no problem. It's just there if you need it, and the board is the only one who can take action to move that money. We cannot do that internally without your permission. The last item is the communications specialist. It was approved in the manager's budget to enhance that position from 19 hours a week to 28 hours per week, and with all the communications that we do and everything that we publicize, there's a great need for that, and that cost is $6,983, and it annualizes to $35,409, but $21,443 of it was already in this year's budget. So the effect to the next year's budget is only $6,900. I know that was very confusing, but there was some money in there for auxiliary employee, and we're going to add to it to make it a part-time employee, so the differential is only $6,900. The total request submitted totals $2,066,294. I've taken those costs, put them on a spreadsheet. There are several things on the list that have not been restored, and taking the annualized cost of what they will look like in the FY 2016 budget. So if you were to approve the $2,066,294 this evening, the net effect to the 2016 budget will be an additional $853,623. The cuts total $3,920,112. The restored annualized cost, combining what you do in FY15 to the increased cost to FY16, totals $2,919,917. Whew. So we still are not restoring $1,195 of the cuts. And that is our proposal. And I want to show you one other thing. I have been on the phone with the Local Government Commission, with the School of Government, with our underwriter, and we've all come up with a budget revision that is legal and everybody is comfortable with, subject to the approval of our annual 2014 audit, which is at the Local Government Commission. It was submitted on December the 9th. They are working on submittals from December the 2nd. I'll have an update next Monday as to the status of when we will get our approval. So the first thing we would do is we would do a fund balance appropriation of the $2,066,000 from the general fund. Once the audit's approved, then that means that the audit's been accepted and the excess of 15% fund balance is now free to be transferred. So we would make that transfer to the capital reserve fund of the $2,066,000. We would put it into the capital reserve fund. We would take it from the capital reserve fund and refund Cabarrus County's general fund $1,066,294 to reinstate the monies that we spent on the school settlement for capital items like the Odell, increased cost for the Odell grade school 3 through 5. The other $1 million will go into another capital reserve fund for the Wallace project. So the budget revisions follow in step. Everybody was fine with the process and how we did it, and we're not violating any of our policies as long as we wait until to post this budget revision, and that's why it doesn't have a date, to be the date that we get approval from the Local Government Commission.
All right.
So any questions?
Any questions for Deputy Manager Dubois or County Manager Downs?
Well, I will say it's not quite that simple because I did have questions. So I had several pages of questions, but I've gotten most of my answers. So I think, I've had 6 months to think about the cuts that have been made. I've had a lot of conversations with citizens who have spoken to me over the last 6 months. I went back and reviewed the July meeting when you had 30-plus citizens who came and spoke about the cuts and their feelings about that. And then the last 2 weeks to ask questions and kind of get a handle on all this. So as a result, I don't really have any questions.
Ms. Honeycutt had 2 pages of questions, and we answered those and sent them out to all the commissioners, and they were very good questions. And I think we were able to go through each one of the areas and explain what it meant.
I have a question. My understanding is that even with restoring what we are talking about, we still have a budget that is over almost $1.2 million less than what the manager recommended earlier that was brought to the former board. Is that correct?
That number I'm not sure because, yeah, I'd have to go back and look, but I don't want to say that that's the right answer, but it could be the right answer. I would need to go back.
The number that you're saying, the number.
Well, if it was $3.9 million worth of cuts and you restore $2,066,000, then it's.
Gave us a figure of $1,193,000.
That's the annualized change, yes. So yes, it would be 1 million even, 1 million, I'm sorry. $1,195,000.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
For those people that say, well, they restored everything, and they just
No, ma'am, we
went
did not.
wild, and that's not true. There's still a lower budget than what was recommended by the manager.
By the manager, yes, ma'am.
To the former commission, is that correct? Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question, and that would be, Mr. Dubois, these list of these items here, were they in any type of a priority order, or we just worked on?
The first 6 were from the specifics that the board mentioned, and then Mr. Downs and I went through the entire list of cuts and evaluated each and every one of them and had conversations with departments and went through that list to restore them. Like one example, that there was a cut in the transportation department for their fuel, and it was a $45,000 cut. Well, when the premium came in for the auto policy on the transportation vehicles, it was $50,000 under budget.
Covered that
We
one.
fixed the fuel. So there was no need to ask for it again. We tried to compensate for some things. The custodian position, they felt like they were going to need a vehicle for that position, and it turned out that they didn't need a vehicle for that position based on the area in which they were going to locate that individual on. You guys addressed some other issues. Well, the previous board addressed some issues on August the 18th. I think they did some activities for the Health Alliance to compensate for some of the cost that they had. It naturally made no sense whatsoever to bring back the Midland Library because it's going to be probably another year delay before it's built, and the Lomax Farm. So there were some items on there that made no sense whatsoever to bring back, and there were some items that we felt like that were more pressing now, and then we can address some of the other things in the future if they continue to be.
Well, I agree with you, Mr. Dubois. And I appreciate the due diligence that you and the staff have done to bring some of these items back to us. And as you mentioned, there's some that was not brought to us because there was really no need to bring those. And that's no credit or discredit to the former board. It's just that those things were not needed, and so therefore you're not bringing them to us as a priority to restore. And so I'm happy with the restoration of some of these items here, and I'm ready to move forward, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we fund these items in the amount, if I wrote it down right, $2,066,294. Once we receive the audit to move forward, the annual audit that the Local Government Commission will do, and that we authorize the staff to go forward with the budget amendment that you've just presented when that time arises, when the audit's been approved. These are things that we've talked about, and we need to put these back in place, and then you've got lots of time to work towards the budget for next year, and this board will have plenty of time to have conversations and discussions about priorities and the things that we need to do to keep this county moving forward. So I would place that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second in front of us to approve the restoration of these items. Are there any additional questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next on our agenda are appointments to boards and committees. The first one is the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. An application has been received from Ave Banks to serve on the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. She has been pre-qualified by the regional ombudsman from that group and is recommended for an initial one-year appointment. So I would entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'd make a motion to appoint A.V. Banks to the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee for a one-year term ending December 31st, 2015.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is appointments and removals to the Active Living and Parks Commission. At the November 20th, 2014 meeting, the Active Living and Parks Commission voted to recommend the appointment of Robin Phillips and Kevin Bryant to the Active Living and Parks Commission for three-year terms beginning January 31st, 2018. The commission also recommends the reappointments of Martha Macon, Danita Rickard, and Mike Kirby to the Active Living and Parks Commission for three-year terms ending January 31st, 2018. So what's your pleasure, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to remove the commissioners the members that are listed and thank them for their service, and to appoint Robin Phillips and Kevin Bryant for three-year terms, and to reappoint Martha Macon, Danita Rickard, and Mike Kirby to three-year terms also.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is Cabarrus County Planning and Zoning Commission. Let me make sure I've got that in the right order. That is correct. James Leidecker has resigned from the Cabarrus County Planning and Zoning Commission effective November 4th, 2014. He represented the Kannapolis area and has moved out of that jurisdiction. Robin Torrance was appointed to the Cabarrus County Planning and Zoning Commission in September 2014 as an alternate representative. He is unable to serve due to a conflict. An application has been received from Adam Dagenhart. He is recommended to fill the alternate position being vacated by Mr. Torrance. And I'm assuming that they will come back to us with a replacement for Mr. Leidecker. Do I hear a motion to approve this request?
Mr. Chairman, is that going to require two motions? I'm looking on the agenda, and the requested action is the motion to remove James Leidecker and Robin Torrance from the Cabarrus County Planning and Zoning. Is that a single motion and along with the other, or you want to do them both in one motion?
I think we can do that either way.
I'll make the motion then that we appoint James Leidecker and Robin Torrance from the Cabarrus County Planning and Zoning Commissioner roster, and also to approve Adam Dagenhart to the Cabarrus County Planning and Zoning Commission as an alternate representative to complete an unexpired term.
I would request one change in your wording. You said motion to appoint James Leidecker, and it should be motion to remove.
I'm sorry,
Right.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do I hear a second to that motion? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is appointments and removals. Cabarrus County Senior Centers Advisory Council. At this November 17th meeting, the Cabarrus County Senior Centers Advisory Council reviewed applications for Charles Mitchell, Rod Campany, Sherman Childers, Gail Linker, Diana Long, Jean Chandler, Barbara Burridge, Alinda Walker, and Vincent Polidori. The Executive Committee was made aware that the Board of Commissioners wanted to see new members on boards and commissions and to see better representation from Kannapolis. That they have been well blessed with a lot of folks interested in that board. The Executive Committee recommended the appointment of Rod Campany, Jean Chandler, Sherman Childers, and Gail Linker to 3-year terms ending December 31st, 2017. And so you see the requested action before you. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to remove Betty Barnhart, Ann Eves, Michael Plowman, and Alinda Walker, and thank them for their service. And I would also like to appoint Rod Campany, Sherman Childers, Gail Linker, and Charles Mitchell to the Cabarrus County Senior Centers Advisory Council for their 3-year terms.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. A motion passes. We have before us tonight a number of reports, I think about 7 different ones that are included in our agenda. I encourage you all to read over those, a lot of good information. Next item is general comments by board members. I would like to make one comment that today is Commissioner Minot's birthday, and we are so honored that she chose to celebrate by spending the evening with us. Well, yeah.
If I'd have known, I'd have baked you one last night when I was baking everything else. I apologize. I have to do better on that.
I suggested to a couple of the commissioners that we sing to you, and I even volunteered to do that myself, and they respectfully requested
That's
that I not do
unnecessary.
that.
Thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
If there's any singing, she should be the one. She's the one in the choir, so,
That's
you
right.
know, let's.
Exactly. Well, happy
Honest
birthday.
here.
Best wishes
Happy birthday.
to you from all of us. Do any of the other commissioners have general comments they'd like to make at this time?
Chairman, I have a few, if that's okay.
Please.
First of all, I know Ronnie, don't throw anything at me, okay? But I know Ronnie's here, and there may be others that were here, but members of Leadership Cabarrus have been asked to attend a meeting, and I'm going to call Ronnie out because she's here. I know last month we had some too. Who else is? If you stand up, those of you in Leadership Cabarrus. There you go. Thank you very much. We're glad that y'all could come, and you're here for the long haul, so it's nice for you to stay through the whole meeting. I know there were some at our last meeting and failed to recognize them, but thank you for doing the program. You guys were all at the convention last week, and I was able to get here and talk to the group. And probably an unknown fact, I warned them all that participation in Leadership Cabarrus could end up with them in political office, because I did it the year before I ran for office the first time. And at that time, and I guess still now, I'm crazy enough to think it's a fun thing to do. So I warned them that by participating that they need to be active in our community. So what I didn't say that day, and I should have said, I thought about it after I left, as you heard, we've appointed people to boards tonight, so I encourage you to find a board from either Cabarrus County or the municipality that you live in, see what's available, fill out the application, and we'll be happy to put you to work, because there are a lot of things available to you. So thank you, all 5 of you, for coming tonight. Another thing I wanted to mention was, based on the comments earlier this evening, I asked our attorney if we had asked him to verify. You and I have had a conversation of what the commissioners can do as far as the application of sludge, and it was my understanding that we could ask for the meeting, which we did do, and are still waiting on a response. But I would like to ask the other commissioners, if you're so inclined, could we get our attorney to look into it and let us know and give us his opinion on what we truly can do? We can all call our representatives and senator, and we all know other people in the House. Or the House and Senate. I'd just like to know what our options are. I believe that you have researched it correctly, but it never hurts to have another set of eyes. So I would like to ask that tonight. And the other thing that I think is pretty cool, I got the link today. Thank you, Mike, for sending that out, and we all did. On Friday, I got to come and watch. I have the county has an intern that's been working with Kasha on public relations, and there was a public relations, I don't know what I would call it, event maybe, we'll call it that. And we had Will Cannon here earlier. He was involved in it. I believe Will in EMS was behind getting a grant for $5,000, and it purchased 37 pocket CPR devices, and they're really cool, unless your hand's the one pushing on it, I think. But it's about the size of your hand. And what it does is it talks to you. When you're doing CPR, it tells you, push harder, give 2 breaths. So it coaches you while you're doing it. What's cool about it is I have a CPR card. And as I told the people there that day, if I'm the only one there, I will do everything I can. But honestly, y'all do not want me 10 minutes trying to do CPR, because if you do it wrong, it's as bad as if you don't do it at all. But this thing's really cool because it talks to you. So if you go to my Fox Carolinas, and it was on the homepage for them today, but you can see the clip that they did. There were 2 reporters out, and they filmed them. They talked to the sheriff, and they talked to EMS, and there was a little reenactment with a deputy who was not expecting to do it and ran up and put it down on the dummy. They used my coat because they didn't have a coat, and they wanted to act like it had arms. So that's the extent of my fame, I guess, is my coat. But he put it down there, and it talks while they're doing CPR. It tells you what you're doing. So they're really, really cool. And not every sheriff deputy has one. It's just in 37, because that's what $5,000 would buy. So when we're going through the budget process, they're $130 some odd each. I think if you save a life is worth a whole lot more than $137 or whatever it is. It's right in that range. So I would love for us to look at the budget, find out, could we get a few at the courthouse, at the detention center, and in the other deputies. It's not something that, I mean, I wouldn't want to carry one on me because I'm truly not, I may have the card, but I'm really not that trained. So, but for someone like deputies that arrive on a scene very quickly, in some areas of the county, quicker than EMS can get there, that could make a huge difference, and I think it would be a great investment for us. So I'd like for us to look into that. But if you will, look at their website, because you can look at the video clip, and it's pretty cool. And I got to take the intern over there to watch it so he could see how they were filming. He got to talk to the 2 reporters, and he got to talk to EMS because his project is actually based around EMS. So it was pretty cool. So I want to draw pocket CPR to everybody's attention. So thank you very much for an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. And do we have consensus to pursue details on the sludge rules and regulations? Which I think they've already done quite a bit of work on that, so that will be easy to put together. Any other commissioners that would like to make comments?
I'd just like to make a few. I was hauled out of retirement to this position. I had been out of politics or positions for 2 years after having been in since 1994. And I've decided that what happens is you're taken out of retirement and you're put into retirement, because this month has been so busy. It's been very hard to keep up with everything that's going on. But I do want to say, and I think the others will join me in saying this, we appreciate being invited by the different parts of the county, the different organizations in the county, to all of the different functions they've had. We've had breakfast, we've had dinner, we've had all kinds of welcoming things, and we were welcomed with open arms, and we appreciate that. And I know that I've often seen on the top of the list of the things that employees appreciate most about their jobs is being appreciated. And that often takes precedence over all of the other things. They just want to know that you think they've done a good job. And having been around working bodies in the school system and in the county for many, many years, I have never known such dedicated people in my life. And I just think on behalf of the entire board, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting us to all of these events and making us feel a part of the activities here, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say just a couple of things if I can, and that is, as you all know, I served on the school board for 12 years, and it's quite a change going from the school board to the county commission, but, you know, it's all for the better, I think, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you that are here and the viewing audience for your support in my quest to be where I am. And my pledge to you is to do the best I can, you know, for the citizens of Cabarrus County. And as Ms. Poole said earlier, to help move the county forward. I don't believe in backing up. I think we're either moving forward or backing up, and I don't want to see us back up. We got to move forward, not just for ourselves, but for our children and for our grandchildren. And so I'm appreciative of all those of you that did support us in our quest, not only mine, but our quest to be here. And then the last thing is I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because this will be the last public meeting that we have. Give you an opportunity to say that, you know, to all of you before this year ends. So Merry Christmas to all of you.
Thank you.
So very quickly, I just want to say I had the opportunity this morning to go to Harrisburg Elementary for an hour of code. Had no idea really what I was going to, but they invited me, so I went. And I got there a few minutes early and got to see the kindergartners, and they were all on the floor, and there was volunteers from Microsoft there who were in one adult in each little area with the 4 or 5 groups, and they worked on paper doing their code. And then the 5th graders came in, and I'm going to tell you, those 5th graders, well, all of them were impressive, but the way they got on there and worked code, I now know how to write code after an hour. So I want to thank them for the opportunity and thank our schools for what they're doing to give our children these opportunities, and also to Microsoft for providing the volunteers. That was an awesome opportunity. So again, I'll echo what everyone else said. Thanks to the employees, and a happy holiday and blessed holiday to everyone out there. So thank you.
Just a couple things that I'll mention. We had I echo what Commissioner Minot has said. We have had an opportunity to have some great some great fellowship, some great food with some really great employees over the last couple of weeks as they've been kind enough to include us. We had an opportunity earlier this afternoon, just before this meeting, to recognize county employees for their length of service with the county. I think we had 125 employees that received service awards, and the number that County Manager Downs quoted was 1,000 years.
1,240 years.
1,240 years of service to the county. And as I said in my comments to them, and I'll repeat again now, county commissioners come and go. We're not here that long, but these folks stick with it. They're devoted to the county, and they're the ones that really make this such a great place to live and work and play, and we appreciate what they're doing. I wanted to take a minute also to recognize one of our local folks, Elizabeth Seyfert, who is Miss United States of America, competed yesterday in the Miss World contest, and was the second runner-up throughout the entire world. I think out of 121 contestants, she came in number 3. So we're awfully proud of her. If any of you had an opportunity to see it on television, you heard some of the comments that she made about her hometown and the fact that she had lived in the same house for 22 years. And the one thing that we don't want to emphasize too much is her family actually lives just a little bit across the line in Rowan County. But we're still going to claim her as Cabarrus County, and we appreciate the ambassador that she has been for our community and did such a wonderful job. We're very, very proud of that. Would like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. We look forward to an exciting new year. We have a very energetic board, and I tell you what, they have hit the ground running for the last couple of weeks. So we have a lot to look forward to. We do have need of a closed session tonight. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter as authorized by North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A6.
I move for approval. And we would invite Pam Dubois, Lundy Covington, and Ben Rose into the meeting. I would second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you.